everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you the cocktail book tag. The cocktail book tag was created and I was tagged by Lindsay over at The Wandering Reader. Lindsay created this about 10 months ago. I'm so sorry, Lindsay, that it's taken me this long to get to this tag. I was not doing tags for a while. I was like super behind on all of my tag videos, but I am getting to it now. I'm looking forward to answering all of these cocktail related questions. I realized that ideally I would be like drinking some kind of fun alcoholic beverage in this video as like a fun nod to the tag. However, I've been sick this past couple of days with a cold and stuff, and I just don't know that alcohol is the best idea for me right now because I am on cold and flu medication. So I have this part of a bottle of water left. So there's that. So I'm not drinking alcohol in this video. I'm also not a big drinker. I rarely drink alcohol. And like I said, I have been sick recently, so it's not happening in this video. But let's jump straight in and answer all of these cocktail-based questions. So question number 1 is Sex on the Beach, which is to just name a steamy book. And for that, I have gone with The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang. I picked this one because this is the best romance, like adult kind of steamy romance that I've ever read. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was phenomenal. So this is about a female character who is autistic, and she's getting to a stage in her life where her parents are really starting to pressure her to like kind of settle down and have kids. However, she, due to her like autism, doesn't feel comfortable having kind of those intimate relationships, and so she hires a male escort to like help her navigate having a sexual relationship, and it's all about that type of story. It is own voices for the autism rep. Helen Hoang is autistic herself, and it is also the male love interest is half Vietnamese, which is also own voices from what I understand. So a lot of own voices rep in there too. So it's got a lot of good rep for a romance novel. And then I thought this book did a fabulous job. It is super steamy. There's a lot of really sexy scenes in there, which I thought were so well done. The author did a really good job of having this really kind of like alpha type of male character without him being a total dick. There's great talk of consent in this book, all of that type of thing. Really enjoyed this book and definitely recommend checking it out if you're looking for a steamy read. The next question is Bloody Mary, a book with a killer twist. For this, I have gone with Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. So there are actually several twists all throughout this book, but there is one twist in particular that had me jaw dropped. When you get to the point of the novel where it happens, I literally was reading it and turned the page and literally went, like it was an audible gasp, jaw drop type of moment, and had me actually turning the page back to reread the scene to figure out if what I had thought just happened had really happened, because I was so shocked by what had occurred. I live for moments like that in books, TV, movies. I love that audible moment of being like shocked by a book. I love it. And this book, it happens really rarely. I feel like I'm too good at guessing things and I ruin the fun for myself. But in this case, I was very shocked by this particular twist. So definitely recommend checking it out. The next question is Pina Colada, a book with a tropical/exotic setting. For this one, I'm throwing it back to a book that I used to talk about all the time, which is Dangerous Girls by Abigail Haas. This is a YA thriller. It's about two best friends who have gone on spring break with a group of friends to Aruba, and one of the friends is viciously murdered and the other friend is on trial for the murder. You get lots of time jumps. You've got from when the girls first became friends and seeing kind of how their friendship progressed. You've kind of got the time period around when the murder happened. You've got the time period of the trial, kind of all jumping around, trying to figure out what happened, who murdered her friend, all of that type of thing. Really, this was one of the first YA thrillers that I ever read, and I really loved it. I think even if I read it now and I didn't think it was as good, I think I would enjoy it just purely from a nostalgia perspective because I enjoyed the book so much. And it is set like on Aruba on spring break, so it is very much like this tropical type of setting for the most part. So I thought that one worked for that question. Next we have Cosmopolitan, a book with a sophisticated character. So for this one, I struggled. So you can actually see up there, Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. I thought about going with Scarlett O'Hara, but while Scarlett O'Hara is, yes, sophisticated, she's also kind of very immature in ways. And so I didn't think she was the best answer for this. So I've ended up going with the main character, whose name I can't even recall. I should have checked. Oh, I do. It's Arnie, which is like, it's short for Tiffany, but it's like the end part. Arnie, I think it's like A-N-I. I remember that now because I remember being like, really? Because she is like sophisticated, pretentious type of character. So The Luckiest Girl Alive by Jessica Knoll. It's a book that got slammed by a lot of people. A lot of people really didn't like it. I personally really did. It's about a female character who, she's sophisticated in that she's very like well-to-do, interested in brands and all that type of thing. There are trigger warnings in this story definitely for eating disorders. I don't know, I just kind of wanted to mention it because she is a character who like was one of the first ones that I thought of when I thought of sophisticated characters. And like I say, it's a book that everyone else hated, but I personally quite enjoyed. So there's that. The next question is Manhattan, a book that left a bad/bitter taste in your mouth. For this, I've gone with The Sham by Ellen Allen. This is a strange book. It's a book that I had out from NetGalley and I read and I hated it. It is probably like my top 2 least favorite books of all time. But the reason in particular that I'm using it for this question, for a book that left a bad/bitter taste in my mouth, is there is a scene very early on in the book with some characters, like kind of abuse/torture scene of a mentally disabled child. It was disgusting. I thought, and while I am not like weak-stomached and can deal with stuff like that generally in my stories, not like this. It was so gratuitous and unnecessary. The plot did not need the scene. It was like the author just put it in there purely for shock factor, which I just don't respect that. I can respect there being stuff like this in books when it's in there for a purpose, or there's a commentary on it, or it adds something even to the characters and the character development. We did not need this scene in this book. I hated the book anyway, but that scene in particular left such a bad taste in my mouth, and I really don't recommend that book. Just don't read it. The next question is Frozen Strawberry Daiquiri, which sounds delicious, which is just to read a book to chill out to. I wasn't sure. I find it hard to like, I'm always like, what's a book to chill out to? I think it can be like interpreted so many different ways. So I've gone with any book, but To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. Really anyone in the trilogy, but in particular To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I think that the type of books that I like to like really chill out with, I mean, generally I like to read anything and can chill out to any kind of book because reading in and of itself is like a chill activity for me. But I think in particular a book like To All the Boys I've Loved Before that is just really, yes, it is like, has its like teen drama parts to it, but for the most part it's just so lighthearted and fluffy. It's not a difficult, hard read, but it is just super enjoyable and light and easy. And so I thought that was the perfect type of book that you could chill out with. The next question is Espresso Martini, a book you read late into the night. So I actually had 2 books. So I have become quite disciplined in recent years in not reading past my bedtime. I think it's just a sign of getting older that I just can't afford to go to bed later than I should for the most part, because I can't survive if I don't get as much sleep as I should. And it's already a struggle to like turn off my phone and not get caught up to like 2 a.m. watching stupid shit on Facebook. But there are 2 books recently, and one of them in particular that I'm going to mention, which is Shut Out by Cody Keplinger. Now, I actually haven't talked about this book on my channel yet. It's going to be in my next recent reads video, but I read this recently. It's a YA contemporary about a group of girls who go on a sex strike, which sounds silly, and it kind of is, but this is just such a like easy contemporary to just kind of fly through. And I didn't stay up super late, but late for me because I don't typically read past my bedtime. I stayed up about 2 hours later than I normally would because I was already going to bed a bit later, and then I was so close to finishing the book. I only had like 100 pages to go, and I was like, I really want to finish this tonight because I was just enjoying myself so much. And so I stayed up later than I should have finishing that book. So Shut Out by Cody Keplinger. Cody Keplinger also, FYI, is becoming one of my favorite authors, and I really want to read everything by her because I always expect that her books aren't going to work, and then they just really work for me. So there's that. The next question is Cuba Libre, which I don't even know what cocktail that is. I've never even heard of that before. And that is your favorite modern classic. Could this be me if I didn't pick Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier? I adore Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. It's one of my favorite books of all time. So for those of you who don't know, it's a book about an unnamed narrator. She's a young woman who meets an older gentleman while on holidays, and they get married, have a kind of whirlwind romance, get married very quickly, and she moves with him to his family estate, Mandalay. However, she then discovers that she's kind of living under the cloud of his first wife, Rebecca. There's a very creepy housekeeper, and she just feels like she cannot live up to this first wife. And it's all about kind of her feeling very repressed by that. It doesn't sound like a story that should work, but it really, really does. It's super gothic and fun. And yeah, just super. I love this book so much. I feel like most people who read Rebecca end up loving it. And if you haven't read it, you definitely should, because it's easily my favorite modern classic. The next question is to suggest your own cocktail and make up an appropriate question. So for this, I've gone with personally like probably my favorite cocktail, which is a Midori Illusion. I love Midori, in case you were interested. And so the question that I made up to go with Illusion is a book that wasn't what you expected. And so for that, my answer for the question is Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton. This is a book that I read recently. It wasn't what I expected because it's a kind of, how do I put this without sounding like an asshole? Like kind of like upper level, like literary fiction, like very highbrow, I guess is how I would put it, literary fiction. And I find that typically when I try to read like highbrow literary fiction, it all just goes over my head. I don't enjoy that type of writing a lot of the time, and so I went into this hoping to like it, but really, really not expecting to, and I loved this book. It's one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. It's basically about a boy who's living a very kind of unconventional upbringing in Queensland. You know, his parents are involved in drug dealing. His babysitter is a convicted murderer, his brother is mute, and there's just a lot going on in his life. There's some kind of magical realism, maybe elements to the story thrown in there, which again, as I mentioned, I tell myself that I don't think again, I just realized I mentioned that in another video. I've filmed so many videos today, they're starting to bleed together. But I mentioned in a video that I just filmed that I always think that I won't like magical realism, and then I end up liking it. Even when it's the type of, I really particularly like it when it's the type that's like, is there something magical or is this just not? There's all of that type of stuff in this book too, which I really, really enjoyed. So it's definitely, I just didn't expect to love this book the way that I did. And so I decided to use this one for that question. And then the final question is just number 10 is, who do you tag? And I'm going to tag Sarah from over at Steeped in Books. I think that she would really enjoy answering these questions. So I'm going to tag Sarah. So that's it, you guys. That was the cocktail book tag. Make sure that you check out Lindsay's original video. I will, of course, have that linked. If I didn't already mention, I don't think I said that I'd have it linked, but it will be linked. Make sure to check out Lindsay. Make sure to check out Sarah. You know, I would love to discuss any of my answers down below with you guys. Please like the video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this particular video. Bye, guys.